we know who's here because we are on Zoom and a lot of folks are on the phone. So Ms. Marco, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christo is going to be late. Mr. Gittarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Tomazone.
Present.
So there's 4 present. Mr. Christo is going to be late.
He'll be here in a few minutes. So if we could just quickly go over the agenda quickly, and I'll just open it up to the board members. If any of the board members have any questions on any of the agenda items at this time.
Do you want to do the pledge?
We'll do that. We'll do that in a minute. Let me just
Okay.
do the review first, and then we'll go into the actual meeting in a minute here. Does anyone have any questions on any of the resolutions? We'll officially close the agenda review and go into the meeting. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from any of the board members. So what I would ask for then is if I could just have a motion to close the agenda review.
I'll move to close the agenda review.
Okay, motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gittarelli. Why don't we just affirm Ms. Marco? So we have a motion by Mr. Signor and a second by Mr. Gittarelli to close the agenda review. Would you mind calling the roll again for?
No problem. Mr. Christo's late. Mr. Gittarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Yes.
Okay, 4 yes and 1 late.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll do the roll one more time in a minute here. So I'd like to call the April 1st, 2021 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board to order. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll again?
Mr. Christo is going to be late. Mr. Gittarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Present.
4 present, 1 late.
So if you'd all please stand, and Deputy Chief, if you would lead us in the pledge, please, I'd appreciate it.
I think he's muted.
There
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So this evening, we'll start with public comment privilege of the floor for anyone who would like to be heard on any topic. Please, if you do, please unmute yourself or by hitting *6 from a phone, or let us know. I think there's an option to raise your hand in here somewhere. So if you would let us know if you would like to say anything regarding any of the resolutions here or any issues of concern. You have approximately 4 minutes to please address the board and state your name and address for the record. I'd appreciate it. So do we have anyone that would like to be heard this evening? Is there anyone there, Ms. McGurl, that?
I did send a request to each person who's not a board member, Diane or I, to unmute themselves, and so far nothing.
Okay, we'll just give it a moment here just in case people step away from their devices. I hear my grandson trying to negotiate a dessert right now. Okay, we don't have it. All right, let's go into the agenda then. And we'll wait for just a moment or so. Again, if we could, just for Mr. Christou.
Mm-hmm.
So, if it's all right, before we go into the agenda, Ms. Miller Herrera, do you want to bring up what we have under miscellaneous?
Yeah. So the town of Rotterdam would like to honor the month of the military child, which is April. Today's April 1st, and as such, we will be requesting that members of the board as well as members of the community wear purple for military children. We're going to do so at our April 28th meeting. And, the idea behind this is that military children, because they move frequently or they have family members that are sometimes deployed for extended periods of time, don't always feel the same connections to their community that families that have lived here for generations do. So we would like to honor those children as members of our community, make them feel welcome and let them know that we stand behind them, whether their families members are deployed or whether they are new or relocated to our community. So we will wear purple on April 28th in honor of the month of the military child.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Diane's already wearing her
I know,
purple.
if I knew that, I would have saved.
She'll have to wear it again. Oh, so is Mr. Signor.
Samantha, gonna jump on it.
You do.
So many things to say about trying to take credit. Okay. And Steve, I've got a couple purple ties. I'll lend you one. So you don't have to.
I've got two. I'll lend you one.
I don't know if it'll fit around my neck. So anyway, moving on. One of the things I'd like to do as well, we have just 4 resolutions here this evening, and they're all important, obviously, but regarding the Town of Rotterdam Policing Reform and Reinvention Collaborative, I want to thank everyone who worked on that from the public. I in particular want to thank our conflict defender, Tracy, and our public defender here, Mr. Signor, and Tracy Chance. I don't think I said her last name, did I? I'm sorry. Our conflict defender, Tracy Chance, excuse me, and our public defender, Mr. Signor, and obviously the chief and deputy chief. So Chief Manicus, who I know is on line here. We can engage with him when we are voting on this resolution if necessary. Deputy Chief Brown and all of the command staff, the civil servants that work in the police department and elsewhere who had anything to do with this, and in particular the rank and file of the department, who every day are doing what they have to do to help our community, protect our community. And I think they've done a great job for us. And having said that, trying to delay a little bit to get Mr. Christou in here, but I don't know if we'll get there. All right, let's go into the first resolution, and then hopefully we'll get him here in a moment. Ms. Marco, would you read the first resolution?
A resolution amending resolution number 29 of the year 2021.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
I think Mr. Guidarelli is first, and Ms. Miller Herrera second.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So anyone on the question? Anyone on the question? We're hiring the crossing guard for the Helderberg Avenue crosswalk for the Mahonison district there. Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou's not here. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone.
Yes.
So 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you. Resolution passes. Okay, next resolution, Ms. Marco.
A resolution calling for a public hearing to repeal the Town of Rotterdam residency requirement.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, by Mr. Signor. Okay, anyone on the question? So on the question, I'll just say that the board over, not just this board, but composition of past boards as well has considered the different options, if you will, of how it is that we want to not just about advertising for positions, but it's obviously seeking the most qualified people and people with a passion for assisting the members of the public, particularly in local government. We'll have a lot of discussion about this. This is a way for us to ensure that the public is heard, employees are heard on this topic, and I'll reserve my other comments, for later on. But that's what we're trying to do here. We just want to ensure that we are able to get the most highly qualified people for positions within our community. And sometimes we do have difficulty finding people for different lines of work, if you will, in our town. So we'll have those discussions and, what that means as far as which positions, or is it a universal type of repeal, if you will. So having said that, anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christo absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
So we'll have that public hearing in the near future. And next resolution, please.
A resolution calling for bids for the managed IT services and advanced engineering support for the town of Rotterdam.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo absent. Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent.
Saw my screen move, so I was looking for Mr. Christo. Okay. So, next resolution, Ms. Marco?
A resolution adopting the final report of the Town of Rotterdam Policing Reform and Reinvention Collaborative.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Okay, and on the question, what I'd like to do is just give our Chief Manicus an opportunity to just say a few words, and then if Deputy Chief Brown or anyone else has anything to say, but if it's okay with the board, I'd like to first ask Chief Manicus to offer us some words.
Quite frankly, we've had numerous meetings, and we've had 2 previous board meetings within the last week or so. So I don't really have anything to add from what I said earlier. Obviously, if anybody has any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Other than that, I'm thankful that we're going to get this passed and resolved by the deadline set by the governor.
Thank you, Chief. Deputy Chief, anything to add, or?
Sure. I would just like to thank all of the collaborative members for volunteering their time and effort and putting a lot of work into this and getting this done. I'd just like to thank them for putting in their time.
Thank you very much. All right, board members? No? Okay. All right, and Mr. Christus just still delayed, and I'm not going to hold up the vote for that, unfortunately. But let's move the resolution. We have a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera and a second by Mr. Signor. Is there anyone else that has any other comments before we go to vote?
I think Evan just came on.
Oh, really? Okay, great. Well, there he is. Mr. Christu, thanks for joining us.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, it's all right. I attempted
Personal on emergency.
It's all good. It's all good. So believe it or not, we're on the last resolution, the resolution adopting a final report of the Town of Rotterdam Policing Reform and Reinvention Collaborative. We had a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera and a second by Mr. Signor. The chief and deputy chief gave a few brief comments. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Nope, I'm good.
So just for the record, Mr. Christu has joined the meeting at approximately 5:47 p.m. here. Okay. Ms. Markle, let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Christo,
Present.
are you saying yes?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Tomazone?
Yes.
5 yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have anything under committee reports? Ms. Miller already brought up information there under miscellaneous about honoring the military child at our next, at our board meeting on April 28th. Anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up tonight?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd just like to remind people that we have a Parks Advisory Committee meeting on Monday at, I think it's 5:30.
Yes.
Obviously, we've been putting a lot of time into our parks, and we continue to look for advice from our citizens and residents about how to move forward and how to best serve them in our parks. So we'll talk about some of our ideas at that meeting, and as well as some of the other, I'm hoping that we're going to use some of the stimulus money coming to the town to help make some nice improvements, as well as rebuild some things and help with some deferred maintenance that we've, haven't been able to do in the past, but we're looking forward to doing in the future.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else on any other topics this evening? Okay. We don't have anything we have nothing, no other business on the agenda here this evening, so I don't know where you all are, but is there anyone that wants to call for an adjournment, or do you want to wait a minute to come up with some other topics of interest this evening?
We're all looking on the screen at Evan right now. At least I am.
I'm good.
make a
I have
motion.
full faith in my colleagues that if I miss something, I would be more than confident to concur with their viewpoint.
That's not what I meant, Evan. You're our guy who calls for the end of the meetings guy. So
Okay, then I make a motion to adjourn the agenda session portion of the meeting.
Can we just say one thing first?
No, town meeting.
Yeah, sure.
I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll second it.
All right.
and we'll see you next week.
So Samantha, you made a motion. Did somebody second it?
Let's regroup. Samantha
somebody
made a
did.
motion. I think Joe seconded.
All right, Joe did, okay.
Was it Steve?
Steve, who seconded it?
It doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter to me. Well, who seconded
It
it?
was, I think it was Joe.
Made a
Joe,
motion.
okay. Thank you.
So, okay, so we have a motion for adjournment. Anyone not want to adjourn? Anyone comment on the motion for adjournment?
You mean answer in the affirmative. Right, Diane? Diane's like, yes, correct.
Let's take an official roll call for that, though, for this
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, Mr. Christo,
Yes.
Mr. Gittarelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera,
Yeah.
Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Tomaso.
Yes.
And happy Easter to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very kind. Happy Easter, everyone. I completely forgot.
And happy Passover.
That's right. Happy Passover, yep.
All the requisite holidays. Be safe, everyone.
Yep.